Well, thank you for that. It's great to be back in the People's Republic of Cambridge, whatever you call yourself. Very nostalgic, 2 years ago, and I remember that. We had this, for those who weren't there, we had this huge meeting rally at the time. People were writing you off, weren't they, Danny? They were like, the Lib Dems are going to keep it, no way. And he won! And he won, thanks to you. 2015 was bleak, as we all remember that evening. I remember it as I occasionally wake up with another night, screaming remembering that now. But I do remember Cambridge Labour gain. And this time round, because of you, we're going to go out there and hear those magic words, Cambridge Labour hold. That's what we're going to do. No pressure. But the whole point of these campaigns, because we saw again, we've had some pretty... we all know the results today all over the country. But here, because of your campaigning, because of solid candidates, you got some great results. So that just shows the power of campaigning, the power of taking to the streets with a positive message, as well as holding the Conservatives and the Lib Dems responsible for what they've done. And that's what this has all got to be about. Holding the Tories to account and their former allies, but also making a positive case. And that's the case we need to be making. Now, in terms of what we're up against, I think first of all, it's a critical point to make, that you can't trust a word that Theresa May says. I keep saying this at the moment because, I don't know, the Tories have obviously got a slight lock on message discipline at the moment. The difference with them is, as we know, like the Daleks, they repeat the same thing over and over again, but the Daleks have more substance, arguably. We're not actually getting any policies or what, in terms of the big challenges facing this country, like education, like health, like the economy, like tax. We're hearing, I'm not going to repeat what she said because your ears are already bleeding because of it. But in terms of, what we need to be arguing, first of all, is that issue of trust. She said over and over again there wasn't going to be an early general election. She said it was playing politics to do that. She said it over and over again. Just last month they said it's not going to happen. Drop it, forget it. And here we are. And the premise of this election, what she argued, was that Brexit was being obstructed in the House of Commons, which isn't actually even true in the first place. And equally, if we think about other broken promises, national insurance, for example, which the Tories pledged not to increase at the last election, and then they U-turned on their U-turn because they knew they couldn't get it through the House of Parliament. Over and over again, on those pledges, on those commitments, you can't trust a single word that they say. And at the same time, as well as all of those, the last 7 years of failure, both for the Conservatives and the Conservatives in coalition with the Lib Dems, look at what we've gone through as a country. The longest fall in living standards for workers for generations, with that squeeze now already returning, people's wages going less far as prices go up. Another reason she's called this general election now, to do so before people start feeling that pinch, but it's already started to happen. On the deficit, they said they'd wipe it out by 2015, didn't even get close. On debt, they said they'd pay off those debts. They added more debt than every Labour government put together in the history of this country. The weakest sustained economic growth we've seen since the 19th century, with GDP per capita not very catchy, but that's still lower than it was before Lehman Brothers came crashing down back in 2008. Whether it be, things like productivity. I mean, if French workers took every Friday off, the French economy would still be more productive, not because people are shirkers or lazy here, but because of government failure. We could go on every single measure, they failed. And we know what happens if we get the Tories back in again. It will mean, again, stagnating and falling wages for millions of people, whether it be in a country where the majority of people in poverty are in work, earning their poverty every single day, whether it be that lack of affordable housing, which disproportionately affects the next generation, with the lowest level of house building in peacetime since the 1920s, whether it be, for example, we think of your generation, and one of the critical things here is to get young people registered to vote. Because in the last few years, the Conservatives and their former Lib Dem allies have deliberately targeted young people and tried to pay off the deficit off the backs of the next generation. And if you don't invest in the next generation, you're not investing in the future of your country. Whether it be the educational maintenance allowance, for those of you, I mean, oh blimey, a lot of them you are a lot younger than me, I just realised, it's horrifying. I'm 32 now, not 16, but anyway, but you know, the educational maintenance allowance, a tiny amount of money to encourage aspirational young working class people who wanted to stay on an education, that was snatched away. The trebling of tuition fees, which punished young people for aspiring to a better education, both for themselves and for the good of the country, because university education is a social good, not just good for the individual students. Whether it be the lack of secure, decent jobs for young people. You know, I meet young people all the time, they get text messages at 6 o'clock in the morning telling them if they've got any hours that day. A return to a supposedly bygone era when dock workers marched to the yard and used to stick their hands up hoping to get work. This next generation with security at work stripped away, where they often don't know how many hours they're working a week, a month. Whether it be the lack of pensions, paid sick leave, paid maternity leave, that comes with those insecure work contracts, the kind of rights that their parents would have taken for granted back in the day when they were working. Whether it be, you know, you can still end up accruing debt at university and end up with the sort of job you'd have got anyway, with those low wages and that lack of security at work. Whether it be youth services, the first to be slashed often, again because of the decimation of local authority budgets by the Conservatives and their previous Lib Dem allies when they were in government as well. A discriminatory minimum wage cuts the benefits which deliberately target younger people, like housing benefit, stripped away for people under the age of 21, and for those who have difficult or bad relationships with their parents, maybe, for example, for LGBT and so on, lots of different specific examples, where they won't get that security and that could drive them onto the streets. Young people, over and over again, targeted by this government. And this government, this arrogant government, think they can do what they want to young people because they think they won't come out and vote. And they won't suffer the consequences at the ballot box. And that's unacceptable. Because it's an act of vandalism not to invest in the next generation. Because what future does this country have if we don't realise the potential of this generation? This is the generation, unless your generation prospers, then our country's not going to prosper. And that's why it's absolutely critical we get as many young people out there, registered and voting. And of course we need that positive vision, that we invest in the economy, that we invest in our public services. We don't cut back. That we expect those at the top of society to pay a fair share of tax, where we support self-employed people and small businesses instead of big businesses with huge tax cuts, that gives local businesses cuts in tax, for example, but also, for example, crack down on late payments that often local businesses are struggling from, that we give self-employed people, the burgeoning self-employed, rights, often like pensions, paid sick leave, whether it be having good infrastructure in this country that we invest in to allow them to thrive. What we need to do, of course, is invest in our NHS, which the Red Cross earlier this year said had been plunged into a humanitarian crisis. The NHS, our proudest creation as a Labour Party, which has been systematically privatised and cut over the last few years by the Tories and, of course, by the Lib Dems when they were at power with them as well. Education. And again, you know, that point about investing in the next generation, this proposal to have universal free school meals funded by treating private schools as what they are, which is private businesses, and expecting them to play by the same rules as other businesses and pay VAT to enable the younger people to have, all of them, a decent school meal where we don't stigmatise people as free school meals, as they're means tested at the moment do, where we support middle income and low income parents and children as well. These are things which were entirely affordable and, of course, entirely costly. And it's about investing in the future of this country. That should be an absolute central theme throughout, because this is one of the richest countries that has ever existed. It was the fifth richest country in the world, but then Theresa May did that speech and the pound went down. So one of the richest countries on the face of the earth. We have huge wealth and potential. But the problem is it's ended up concentrated in so few hands that we go through that longest fall in living standards for workers, as I've said, for so long, whilst the wealth of the richest people has doubled during one of the great economic traumas in the history of this country. Now that says to me that this model isn't just wrong or immoral, it's irrational. It doesn't make any sense. This wealth is created by all of us. It's a collective effort by society. And it shouldn't be locked in the bank accounts of a tiny few. We should be investing, as I've said, supporting low-paid workers with, for example, a £10 minimum wage, which would mean less money on in-work benefits. But also, when low-wage workers get money in their pockets, what do? They go and spend it in local businesses. It's good for the economy, as well as for the worker, as well as for the taxpayer. These are all arguments that we have to be making. Now, it is going to be tough. We know that. We know what the opinion polls say. And what I'd say is, we have a choice there. We can just give up, rock in the fetal position, sobbing uncontrollably, or we can go out and make the case.
I did that earlier.
We've all done a bit of it. Come on, nothing wrong with the odd rock in the fetal position. It's healthy. But after we've done that, we can go out and be all cheerful. Get out your system, do what you want. But it does make a huge difference when you knock on those doors, when we identify those Labour voters, when we can get them out to vote. Across the country, many of these votes, what will happen will be close. This place, this constituency, is on a knife edge. And literally, what happens this evening in terms of knocking on doors could decide whether this stays Labour or not. How many votes did you win by last time?
599.
599. We'll probably speak to that many people tonight. And that just shows, if we can get out the vote, if we can find out where people are, so on polling day we can maximise that Labour turnout, then we can keep this seat Labour with your excellent local MP who has shown that he will stand up for his constituency, even when that means defying the whip, for example, on Article 50, because the majority of people in his constituency expected him to put his constituency ahead of what the party was saying in Westminster. That's the kind of voice that I think people want to hear out there. They don't want a Lib Dem who, let's not forget, supported, for example, the bedroom tax. That bedroom tax is one of the cruelest policies any government has inflicted on any section of this population since the end of World War II. 2/3 of those people affected were disabled, where they were deemed to have a spare bedroom, often for carers, for example, often for others who were supporting them, or a room which was customised to support them. And they were told that they had to downsize, even though there weren't any one-bedroom places for them to move in, because we have a national shortage of housing, because we've not been building them. And that's the sort of policy he supported, which just made predominantly disabled people have to cough up money that they simply didn't have. I don't think that's the sort of MP that Cambridge deserves, because there were people in this constituency who suffered the consequences of that terrible, unjust policy. And it was the Lib Dems nationally who enabled all the things that the Conservatives have done, and we wouldn't be in this situation as a country without that record in government. So instead we need to make that Labour case, an independent-minded local MP who's prepared to stand up for his principles, to stand up for what the constituency and its constituents want above all else, and will support investing in the economy, who will support a genuine living wage, who will support investing in education, who will support tax justice for those at the top of society. These are the sorts of policies that we need to be fighting for. Now, it is going to be the fight of our lives. So what we do today, we're going to go out there and make the case and make a campaign. But this isn't enough, even this, which is fantastic. Go out there, talk to your friends, talk to others about them coming to knock on doors. Them getting registered, if they're not already registered. Because it's their future at stake. It's all our futures at stake. But it's your generation who will suffer the biggest consequences of what will happen, which is why it's absolutely essential we get as many young people out there registered and voting to make sure that politicians hear their voice loud and clear. We've seen a dramatic surge in registration amongst students nationally, which is fantastic, but the more we get registered, the bigger the difference we're going to make next month on polling day, when the Conservatives think they can disregard young people, they don't have to listen to them, and they can impose whatever policies they want, however detrimental. We're not going to let that happen. So let's be, chirpy. We're going to do this. Yeah. We're going to do this, and we'll, have a drink. Drown our sorrow. No. We're going to celebrate. We're going to celebrate what we're going to do tonight, which is get that vote out. So let's be optimistic, and just remember what we've achieved in the past. The way we get change hasn't been waiting for powerful people to wake up one day and think, I'm feeling generous, I'll give women the vote for a laugh. I'll create the welfare state, why not? People had to organise, they had to make their voices heard. That's what the Labour movement's all about. It's about when we collectively organise together, we can overcome all the injustices that scar and in many ways define our society. And whether it be the rights of workers, the NHS, the welfare state, the open university, the minimum wage, LGBT rights, all of these things were done because people organised both outside of Parliament and inside Parliament through a Labour Party and Labour governments. So we've got to stand in that great tradition of a democratic movement determined and inspired to transform this country, not in the interest of a tiny elite at the top, but in the interest of the real wealth creators, working people, who keep this country ticking day after day after day. We've overcome far greater injustices, far greater odds in the past. That history of people who struggled in the streets, who fought for the rights that many of us take today for granted, all of that was hard and difficult, and it often meant many setbacks and defeats. But only by having that optimism and that determination and that resilience that our ancestors showed to get us all the rights that we have today, can we hope to overcome this. So let's get out there, let's campaign, let's get that message out, let's get others registered, let's go out and take on the Lib Dems and the Conservatives, and let's get your fantastic local Labour MP, Daniel, re-elected next month, Cambridge, Labour Hold. Thank you.